Some say betrayal stings in the moment, but they don't tell you about the quiet rage that builds afterwards, or the way it fuels something you never knew you had. I never asked for revenge. I never thought I'd need it, but when the world turns on you, sometimes you have to become the person everyone underestimated to get your piece. My name's Mason, I'm 27, and I've been working as a mechanic at a small auto shop in Cleveland for 5 years. Every morning I wake up to the smell of grease and gasoline, my hands always smelling like metal and oil by noon. It's exhausting work, but it's honest, and I've always been proud of it. I'm just a guy, doing my job. I don't ask for much, just a paycheck and a little respect, but I should have known better. There was always something off with Trevor. He'd been my best friend since high school, but lately, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. At work, I'd notice him getting more and more cocky, like he owned the place. He'd make these sly comments about how I was just lucky to have a job at all, like my hard work meant nothing, but I kept quiet. I had bigger things to worry about, like keeping my job and making sure my mom was okay. I didn't need the drama. But deep down, I always knew that betrayal was brewing. Trevor wasn't just my friend, he was the guy I'd helped get his first job at the shop. He was the one I'd covered for when he'd screw up on a repair and get too nervous to tell the boss. I even loaned him money when his rent was overdue, and I didn't ask for it back. That's how close we were, or so I thought. But lately, I'd been noticing the way he looked at me, like I was a tool, literally, the way he'd watch me bust my back on tough jobs, sweating through my shirt, while he'd coast through, doing the bare minimum. He'd even take credit for my work, like when he passed off a repair job I did as his own. But I didn't speak up. Maybe I was too used to being walked on, or maybe I thought it didn't matter. That was my mistake. Then came the day that shattered everything. It all came to a head one afternoon. I was working on an old Jeep, its engine barely holding together, while Trevor was sitting at the front counter, doing nothing. I was struggling with a stubborn bolt when Trevor strolled over, smirking. "Need help with that, Mason? Or do you want me to fix it for you?" he said, loud enough for the boss, Rick, to hear. I froze, the kind of freeze where your body doesn't respond right away, like it's still trying to process the reality of what's happening. He didn't even know how to fix the damn thing, but here he was, mocking me, in front of everyone. Rick looked at me, then Trevor, then back at me, not saying a word. It was like I didn't even exist in that moment. Trevor took a step back, flashing that cocky grin, and I could feel the walls closing in. The humiliation was burning in my chest, but I couldn't react. I stayed silent, barely holding it together as my heart shattered. It was in that moment that I knew something had to change. I couldn't let it slide anymore, but I also knew the last thing I wanted was to make a scene. No, my revenge would be calculated. I spent the next few days quietly gathering everything I needed, text messages, emails, photos, proof of every time Trevor had stolen my work, every time he'd lied to the boss, and every time he'd taken credit for something he didn't deserve. I even started talking to a few of the guys around the shop, guys who had been there longer than me, and they were all too happy to confirm what I already knew. It wasn't just about getting back at Trevor, it was about protecting my own integrity. I spent nights staying late at the shop, working on the Jeep he'd mocked me for, making sure it was perfect, making sure Rick would notice the difference between my work and Trevor's. I didn't need to stoop to his level, I just needed to show that I was better. And then I waited, quiet, calm, ready for the right moment. It didn't take long. One afternoon, Trevor walked into the shop, already sweating bullets, his phone buzzed non-stop, his face going pale as he saw the texts flashing across his screen. "What the hell is this?" he muttered under his breath. He looked at me once, then twice, before rushing to Rick's office. I stayed where I was, under the hood of a car, pretending I couldn't hear the frantic calls Trevor was making. The tension was thick in the air, like everything was about to snap. I didn't give him the satisfaction of responding. Let him sweat it out, he deserved it. The next morning, it all exploded. Trevor had been caught red-handed, not only for taking credit for my work but for stealing parts from the shop and selling them on the side. The entire shop found out in a matter of hours. Rick made the decision to fire him on the spot, and in front of everyone, too. The humiliation was intense, Trevor stammering. His face beat red as the guys at the shop muttered and laughed behind his back. He tried to protest, but no one was listening anymore. And there I was, standing in the corner, watching it all unfold. I didn't need to say a word, I just let the silence between us speak louder than any insult could. Trevor's downfall was swift, the shop moved on, and I kept my head down, focusing on my work, But something changed in me. I didn't just get my revenge. I found my voice. I stopped letting people walk all over me. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone, and most importantly, I realized I was worth more than I'd ever given myself credit for. I didn't need to make a scene to get what I deserved. In the end, dignity and patience did all the work for me, and when I went home that night, after everything had settled, I finally felt peace. I didn't ask for any of this, but sometimes, life forces you to become something you never thought you'd be. I protected the one person who believed in me, the one person who saw me for who I really was, and I walked away stronger for it. If you've ever been betrayed and found your own strength to rise above it, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your story, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories of redemption, resilience, and quiet victories. You don't have to be loud to make an impact. Just stand tall, and the world will see you for who you are.